unfortunately really didn't like episode 11, and I kind of want to rant about it for a bit. If you're someone that's a huge fan of Last Twilight and don't want to hear any criticisms about the show, this video is probably not for you, but I'm gonna rant, get it out of my system. So there. Hi, I'm Monique. I am the host of Off by Purple Heart podcast, where I talk to you about K-dramas, C-dramas, BTS, and whatever else I want to talk about. Last Twilight, episode 11. This is going to include a lot of spoilers. I want to talk about the breakup specifically, and the episode 11 curse, and the fact that I really can't stand this in dramas anymore. I've come to the point where it's just irritating more so than not. There always has to be that dark night of the soul, and especially with any romance stories, whether it's in books or in television shows or movies, there has to be that dark night of the soul. There has to be that one part of the couple's journey where they break up and it seems like all hope is lost until the final resolution in the final act. So I understand this story arc structure, and I was kind of hoping that Last Twilight would subvert that, because I feel episodes 1 through 9 were just fantastic. I have zero complaints about episodes 1 through 9. To me, episodes 1 through 9 marked Last Twilight as like my favorite BL that I have watched in recent memory. Probably one of my favorite romance stories that I've watched on screen in a very, very long time. I think it was just pitch perfect, even with all the ups and downs. Episode 10 I enjoyed, but I definitely had quibbles about it. But nothing like episode 11. I have been reading a lot of commentary. I have seen reactors because I am so engrossed in this show that I will watch secondary channels and I will just get a general grasp of what people are saying. And in defense of the writers, I see and I hear what a lot of people are saying is that we should trust the writers, we should trust the process, and in the story it makes sense that Mock and Day would break up. Okay, and I understand that. One of the two main themes of the show that are my takeaway, that I think is most people's takeaways, is one, Day is not only the center of the story, but he has been very clear from the start that he is fighting for his independence and that he does not want to be pitied. That was the first major takeaway. And the second takeaway is that Mock has a lot of unresolved trauma in relation to his sister's death. So these are the two crutches of this main story and where a lot of these central conflicts are going to come from. So the breakup, I don't disagree that it wasn't necessary for the story. I do think that the characters need to have been separated for a period of time. So it's not that I disagree with the element of the breakup itself. I think episode 11 definitely did the story arc structure where, you know, the saying that if you show a gun in the first act, it better go off by the third act. The gun in this scenario is that Mock had a lot of paranoia surrounding the safety of Day. Very early on in the episode, from when this trip was a go, the mom was here for it, and Knight told Mock that, hey, this is going to be the major test for you to show that you are fully capable of taking care of Day and that Mom can completely entrust you with his care. And Day was like, yeah, or Mock was like, yeah, no pressure, right? And throughout the episode, you got that sinking feeling every time, you know, there was an instance where Mock couldn't reach Day. You know, there was the kitchen scene where one of the cooks was recounting an event of someone on the resort getting into an accident, and Mock immediately panicking is like, well, who was it? Was it a tourist, a foreigner, or was it like staff, like, who was it? And the worker's like, I don't know, dude, I just told you, like, it was just an accident. And then him trying to reach out for him later in the episode and then not getting him because he had left his phone, and then finding out he was playing around with some kids. So the episode was building up towards this final moment. But yet, I found the breakup really abrupt. I don't know what irked my spirit about it so much. I think, for one, I don't really like the trope of character A withholding an important piece of information from character B, and then character A rationalizing it, saying, I'm doing this because I care about that person, I don't want to hurt them. Character B, innocently enough, happens to rifle through their belongings and stumbles upon information they're not supposed to and discovers said secret. And then in a big showdown scene, character A, character B face off. And then character A is left reeling, saying, well, I did this because I love you. I didn't mean to hurt you by this. And character B not listening, saying, well, you should have told me about this. And then kaplat. Like, everything just erupts. Like, I don't like that scenario playing out. And I was really disappointed that's how it played out here. Yes, I do think the characters needed a bit of separation. I think Mock has a lot of unresolved trauma with the passing of his sister, and definitely and how it happened, and with the reveal that his sister actually was trying to call him in her last moments, probably to say goodbye and that she loved him. He unfortunately didn't get to that call, and then his sister ended up taking her own life. And the amount of survivor's guilt that Mock has definitely makes sense as to why he has so much anxiety around Day's safety. And I don't even think it's just about Day's disability, even though that's obviously a huge factor of it. I just think he should be in therapy. And in episode 12, it would be really nice, even if it's mentioned off screen and there isn't necessarily a scene, that in this break that these two characters are having, that Mock actually does get some therapy. I don't know if he'll have the money or the resources to do so, but I'm assuming if he's going to be this sous chef in Hawaii, which there was a reactor that I was watching that actually hit upon a point that I was kind of thinking, where she said, I find it interesting that, like, an episode prior, we were seeing Mock essentially washing dishes, cooking up some stir fry for close friends and family, and then all of a sudden he's in his kitchen and now he's turned like sous chef, and now he's won a contest against all these other cooks, and now is specially selected to go all the way to Hawaii of places to then have to be a cook. It, like, there wasn't any top Thai restaurants where he could be a chef and be able to build his career from there. But no, obviously there had to be a dramatic tension and a definite break where these characters have like full separation. But I do think, to get back into what I was saying before, I think it would be nice for even it to be mentioned that Mock is getting some therapy. I think damn near every character in the show could use some therapy, even though there's been some resolutions. Day and Night have resolved their tension and conflicts, and I definitely understood where the mom was coming from in a lot of her concerns towards Mock. Yeah, she had a bit of a classist and elitist attitude throughout the show, but I genuinely think the actress's portrayal, and in the end, I think the character ended up really showing how much she loves her son, even though she may not have been always the best in her practices and how to handle Day's disability. I do have a lot of empathy for the mom. But yeah, every character probably could use some extensive therapy. Day could have used some therapy. I don't remember if there was any scenes that established that he tried and was unwilling to go through with it because of, his sarcasm and wanting to isolate himself, and his mom wanting to keep him locked up in his room as well, protect him from the world. But I think they all could use therapy. But to me, it just didn't ring true for me. I know I'm not a writer, so for anyone comes out and says, well, you know what? You're not writing a television show. When you write a television show and have to do like a 3-act structure for a story and make all the characters have their own unique voices and build a love story, make the connection seem real, cast actors that have incredible physical chemistry and can sell these lines and can cry on cue and do X, Y, and Z, then maybe you can critique it. No, I can, as a viewer who enjoys romance, can critique something that I love. And I love this show. I absolutely think episodes 1 through 9 was amazing. Episode 10, yes, I had my quibbles, but I still enjoyed it, and I was still enjoying the show as a whole, and I still think of it as one of my favorite BLs that I've watched, period. But to me, Breakup could have happened, but why couldn't there had been a point where, Day expresses his disappointment in Mock hiding this from him, and them still having a conversation and saying, you know what, I get where this is coming from. I understand everything that what transpired with your sister. The fact that even Mock reiterated this in front of the mom and Knight, it blew my mind that Day would just so abruptly say, you know what, we're broken up, we're done, get out. Like, get out, just done. I don't understand why it had to be portrayed that way. Why couldn't there have been a conversation? They aired out everything and they both come to the conclusion that, hey, maybe it would be best if we had a break. We don't have to be broken up. We can still love one another, be in this relationship, but also take some time apart to kind of breathe a little bit. And hey, I understand where your worries and concerns are coming from, but I need this independence. I need to be able to get out in the world, and I don't need you to constantly have to feel that you have to overwatch what's happening with me. And this is a really amazing opportunity, and I really don't want you to lose out on it. Just for him to just flat out say, we're broken up, done. And just to have the cut of Mock collapsed against that wall, just bawling his eyes out. And Day obviously was shaken up from it as well. But I just think of all the support systems that Day has. His mom, Knight, his friends, the entire badminton community. Even though there was some friends that weren't really friends. I know the whole August thing turned real sour, even though they had the resolution. But he has all the support system. And I just think of Mock, and he just was left completely blindsided with nothing. I mean, he has no choice. He has to either sink or swim now. But to know that, his best friend just had a baby and has moved back in with her mom, and obviously she's going to be super focused on motherhood. And the one person that he really loved and was a huge key piece in this person being able to gain back their independence and to find quality of life and to begin to have hope, and even being instrumental in this person starting to finally see themselves as a fully actualized human being and actually come to a gradual acceptance of having this disability, and getting adaptive assisted devices like a walking stick, which I feel like should have come earlier. But I understand that walking stick was symbolism for Day not fully coming to terms with the fact that he's blind, thinking that this was going to be a temporary setback and that he would eventually regain his vision. So there would be no need for him to invest in mobility devices that would signal to the world that he is blind, right? But from like episode 3 or whenever it was where, him and Mock had that day trip and Mock foolishly left him like at the street corner to go get some water, end up in a fight with Porgia's then fiance, and Day getting lost. I thought from that episode on, with the amount of trauma that was packed in that, he should have had a walking stick at the very least. So it'd be more easily identifiable that, hey, if he was to get into some trouble, maybe there could be some people that could just gently, assist him and guide him away from like oncoming traffic with like cars and stuff that could potentially be fatal. Even though I know the show is about him gaining his independence and what have you. But there's just something that just left a bitter taste in my mouth about that breakup. And I am being premature because episode 12 could probably delve into what a lot of I'm complaining about right now. There could be a scene where the two characters actually do come together, talk everything out, and still decide that, hey, we probably really should be on a break. There's a lot of codependency that's going on, especially on Mock's side, and you know what, maybe it'd be for the best if we took some time apart. We don't have to completely break off contact. We can still, you know, have this loving relationship, but, you know, kind of take a breather and kind of come and revisit once things have settled, once all the dust has settled. And then we'll get a gap, and then they come back together, because there has been some spoilers that, you know, I believe Knight and Porja, I think, are going to solidify the relationship. They're going to get married, and I think that's going to be the big, like, reconciliation reunion scene. And I'm kind of hoping that Day will be the one to take the initiative of reconciling with Mock and having this relationship come to be, if they are to get back together. If the show was to decide in episode 12 that they're better off not being in a relationship, so be it. But yeah, there's something about the clichédness, the big dramatic breakup scene that just really felt disingenuous to the show. Even if I can see why the breakup would be important, and I hope I kind of explained that in this long rambly episode, I would still hope that it would have been handled a little bit better. Maybe I will recant everything and take everything back once I've seen episode 12. But I still feel really disappointed by episode 11, which is a shame because I feel like this is one of my favorite BLs. I think it's just such a gorgeous show, and it got so many things right, so that it's just really jarring to me that I was so dissatisfied that even a couple of days after the episode aired, I'm still angry about it, which is ridiculous. I understand that. I don't know. I had to get that out. I was so irked by everything that I just had to get it out. So basically, to summarize everything, I think there were some missteps in this episode. I think even if the breakup needed to happen for these two characters, because there's a lot of codependency, there's a lot of trauma that's been unresolved, I think the breakup itself was done shoddily, and it didn't really seem true to Day's character. And I just think it could have handled a little bit better. Episode 12 unveils, I may, and eventually delete this, I might completely eat my words and take back everything. I just knew, because I kept thinking about it and was getting pissed about it, that I was like, you know what, I'm just going to talk about it, air out my grievances, and maybe there's a couple of folks out there that agree with me, or maybe there's those that will disagree with me, and maybe there will be like a new perspective that I haven't discussed, that I haven't seen, that will maybe make me reflect on it differently. So yeah, that's my rant. I understand why the breakup needed to happen. I understand that there is some trauma that's unresolved, but I just didn't like how the breakup happened, and it just didn't feel true to the characters. It didn't feel true to Day. And I think it just left a sour taste in my mouth for a series that I think is quite beautiful and that the parties involved should be proud of for making, but that's just my spiel. Anyways, that's it for this podcast episode. Kind of raw. Wasn't expecting to make it, but I felt like I was needing to just get this out. So until the next episode, if you're watching via YouTube, thank you. If you're listening via Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I really appreciate you. To the next one. Hope to see you there. Bye.